Loretta Young Show, starring Loretta Young.
You know, they tell me that by the law of averages, there was one chance out of 500,000 that the four people in our story tonight would ever meet each other. But we were lucky. We found that one chance in a letter that was written to us by a man from our state prison. Now, two of the four people in our story tonight, Dora and Philip Whiting, are a very social and popular couple. In fact, in their own group, no smart dinner party is complete without them. And right now, they're on their way home from one of these smart parties. So I think we should get a divorce.
Divorce? No, Dora. I'd never consent to such a thing. I've worked too hard getting where I am to ruin my political career with a divorce.
Your political career? Phil, what about our career? Our marriage, our home, and our child. These things just don't mean anything to you anymore.
Well, you know how busy I've been.
That's right, busy. You're always too busy. Too busy for your own daughter, a little 7-year-old girl who needs your love and your understanding. Needs it as much as I do. You better slow down. Important men don't look any better in the traffic court than they do in the divorce court.
Dora, someday I'll be governor.
Please
Then
watch where you're going, will you?
I know where I'm going.
I wonder if you do.
You seem to forget that I've done a great deal of good for the citizens of this state.
Oh, stop it, Phil. Stop it. You always do that. You always rationalize your own shortcomings by dangling the good of the state in front of me. Why aren't you honest with yourself? It isn't for the good of the state anymore, Phil. It's all for the good of Philip Whiting.
Dora, how many times do I have to tell you that that's politics?
Oh, no, it isn't, Phil. It can't be. Other men have political careers. They don't compromise their integrity. They don't completely ignore their families or neglect them.
That's a pretty stupid thing to say.
Is it? But it's true. You don't know how you changed, and that's the real tragedy. Philip, please slow down. Phil, don't be a fool. Can't you hear that police siren? Slow down. There's a man in the road. Look out!
You stay here.
Dead, Mac.
Dead?
Is he?
Dead? Yep. This drunk just run him down. I caught up with him a little too late. Stick around, mister. I'll need a witness.
Oh, Rose.
A witness?
I never even saw him. Honest, mister, I never even saw him. Oh, my poor
Just stop by to see if I could be of any help. Here's my card.
My poor Rose.
Oh, Mr. Whiting, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. Thank you for stopping. If more people were public-spirited as you...
Yes, thank you. Well, I see you've got the situation well in hand, so I'll say good night.
Thank you, Mr. Whiting. Good night, sir.
You all right?
dead. Get in.
But you can't just leave.
A drunk did it. He practically admitted it. Let's go. Well, get in.
I thought you were at the office.
I was. Came home to take you to lunch. Come on, Dora. You get all dressed up and we'll have lunch and go shopping, huh?
Have you read it?
Yes.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, accept, of course. I wired Senator Foley this morning that I'd be honored to run. Well, there's a big editorial. Didn't you read it?
No. No, I didn't read it. I read something else that wasn't important enough for the editorial section. Listen to this. Joe Durbin of 605. South 2nd Street was arraigned late last night on a charge of manslaughter and drunk driving. Durbin was held without bail. He recently served 1 year in the county jail for a drunk driving conviction. The victim's name, Frank Bell. No relatives. Philip, there's more. Joe Durbin has a wife and 5 small children. Look, there are pictures of them right there. Mrs. Rose Durbin collapsed at the news of her husband's arrest.
That's all very unfortunate, Dora, but it's no concern of ours. This fellow Durbin seems to be a pretty bad egg. A drunk. It's a pity, though, about his wife and kids. Dora, we shouldn't get mixed up in this, my dear.
Aren't we already?
Dora. To the coroner that the deceased met his death as a result of criminal neglect on the part of Joseph Durbin, who will be confined for a period of not more than 6 weeks without bail, pending trial for manslaughter.
Joe! Joe! Oh, Joe killed it. Oh, my poor Joe. Back in jail again.
Are you all right, Mrs. Durbin?
Yes. He was trying so hard to get a job, trying so hard not to drink. He didn't even see the man. Oh, God, what am I going to tell the kids now?
I'll get you some water.
Mrs. Durbin. Mrs. Durbin. I'm Mrs. Leonard. Please, let me help you. Help? Yes, if I can. Oh, that's cute. And look, Miss Durbin, this is for your oldest girl. You said she was 12, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, she'll love that.
Oh, I hope so.
The kids will love all this stuff.
I'm glad.
Please sit down, Miss Leonard.
Oh, yes, surely. Thank you. Mrs. Durbin, suppose your husband is convicted. If they sentence him to jail, how will you get along with the children and all, I mean?
I don't know. I don't know, Mrs. Leonard. It wasn't easy the last time he was in jail, you know. The kids asking questions and all. Now it's going to be worse because they're older and, wiser.
Yes, I know.
You know, Mrs. Leonard, it's not as though Joe's a bad guy. He's not. He's good. He's good to the kids and me. But that drinking's a sickness with him. He needs help. There was a chance after he spent a year in the county jail that he'd reform. But now, no. Not now, no. There's no chance now. He'll be completely separated from the kids, and they'll never want to see their father again.
And you?
Me? Oh, I'll wait for him if that's what you mean, Mrs. Leonard. I love Joe. I love him.
I think I better run along now, and I'll be back in a couple of days.
All right.
Oh, your basket. Oh, yes, Shirley. Almost forgot it, didn't I?
I don't know how to thank you.
It's just crammed. Here, hands on it. Miss Durbin, you're right. You stand by your husband here, and you pray, huh? You pray hard?
Oh, gee, sure.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm no good to you or the kids. Why don't you make a clean cut now? Get a divorce. Make the kids forget they ever knew their father.
Oh, Joey, don't talk like that. You'll get out soon, maybe a couple of years. Kids won't be too grown up by then, and well, we can go away to a new town and get a fresh new start.
A fresh new start. That's what I thought I was doing this time, only the booze got me first.
Now, Joey.
Funny thing is, I don't feel guilty about that guy. Never saw him standing. He was just laying in the road as though he was waiting for me to run him down.
Oh, what does the lawyer say?
That guy, Jowett. Some public defender he is. Wants me to plead guilty, says it might get me a break with the jury.
Well, maybe he's right, Joey. Hey, what do they call that? Throw yourself on the mercy of the court.
I'll be thrown all right. Straight to the dogs. What's the use, Rose? With my record, they can pin anything on me.
Well,
I didn't kill him. I didn't, Rose. Only I can't prove it.
oh, now, Joey, don't do that to yourself.
What are you living on? Can't be anything left of them few bucks I had when they released me.
Don't worry about it, Joey. We're fine. I got some sewing to do, and... Oh, there's a very kind, rich lady, Mrs. Leonard. She talked to me right after the inquest, you know, and she's been helping us out. She brought clothes and food and some toys. She's very kind. She seems very interested in us.
Why should you be so interested in the Joe Durbins?
Well, like I said, Joey, she's a kind, rich lady.
People aren't nice to the likes of us. She must have a reason. She from some charity organization or something?
No.
Well, what do you know about her?
Now, don't get huffy, Joe. Mrs. Leonard's a very rich woman. She seems like a real great lady. And, well, she likes to go around helping people, especially kids. What's the matter, Joey? What are you thinking? Is that wrong?
Well, maybe it isn't, maybe it ain't. She must have a reason. Maybe she's paying off.
That's silly talk, Joe. If you could see Mrs. Leonard,
Rosie,
you'd know...
there was a fine, rich car in the road ahead of me that night. There must be a reason.
Good evening, Mr. Whiting. Would you like your cocktail served in the study, sir?
Nothing now, Henry, thanks.
Very good, sir.
Dora, I understand you went to that inquest yesterday.
Yes, that's right, I did.
And after I asked you not to. Dora, your concern for these people will be misunderstood.
Misunderstood? Philip, you have killed a human being. And you're content to let an innocent man suffer for your crime. What kind of a man are you? How do you expect to live with this monstrous thing on your conscience? How do you expect me to live with it?
You have no choice, Dora. Not anymore. If your plans for divorce ever were feasible, they're not now. You realize that, don't you, Dora?
Philip.
Oh, Dora. Listen to me. Now, we've had our problems and our conflicts. Mainly, I must admit, because I am what I am. But if I fail you, it's because, well, destiny, or whatever you want to call it, has placed me in a position where our private happiness has to take second place to a higher purpose. I love you, Dora. I've never ceased loving you. But I can't escape the duties and the responsibilities and the trust extended to me by some of our worthiest citizens. And it does have its compensations, too. We're honored and privileged. We have power and prestige, in all of which you share.
Yes, I know that.
Now, someday, maybe, when I can retire from all this, we'll be able to live the kind of life that you and I have always dreamed about.
What's all this got to do with Joe Durbin and his family?
There's only one law I have to answer to in this case. The moral law on which leadership rests. And it's a different kind of law from that which governs the lives of the Joe Durbins of this earth.
Oh, no. No. No, they're not different laws for different people, Phil.
Don't you understand, Dora? I'm indispensable.
Oh, Phil, you...
My inability to continue my work and discharge my responsibilities will be felt by thousands of Joe Durbins and their families. Now, on the other hand, this man, Joe Durbin, whose pitiful existence you place above my own, is a weak and useless individual, morally decayed, a drunk, devoid of any value to society, even to his own family. Now, right now, is his best chance to square himself by taking the blame for an act which he could easily have committed, which, except for a hair's breadth, he would have committed. His first act of usefulness to the society will be to leave me free to go on and work and plan for countless others like Joe Durbin.
I believe you really mean that.
I've never been more serious.
There's just one thing you're forgetting. Maybe he's important, too. Desperately important to his own family, to his wife and his 5 children. Oh, Phil, listen to me. They're people. They're human beings with feelings like you and I and our own child, Phil.
Dora, you're overwrought.
No,
You ought to be able to understand my attitude. Look, why don't you take a nice trip to Florida or Bermuda till this thing blows over?
No, I can't run away from it, Phil. And neither can you. Neither can you.
Let me get you some more coffee.
Oh, yes, please. I'd like that. That'll be enough. Thank you.
Mrs. Leonard, why are you doing all this for us? I mean, why are you so kind and generous? After all, we're strangers to you.
But I told you, Mrs. Durbin. I read about you in the paper. Your misfortune and about your children. I thought you needed help. And I like helping people. Especially children. I love children.
And you don't have any of your own?
Oh. Yes, we have a 7-year-old girl.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, kids are a great blessing, aren't they?
Oh, yes, they certainly are.
I wouldn't trade my 5 for nothing. Only it's no good unless you can have a real home for them. You have a mother and a father to look after them. That's the hard part, no father. And me away so much, looking for jobs and things so high. That's the real tough part of it, Mrs. Leonard, no father. And they need so much watching.
Yes, they certainly do, don't they? Well, Miss Durbin, I better go, and thanks for the coffee.
Oh, that's all right. Look at all you've done.
Nothing.
Let me help you.
Thank you.
Yes, I seen Joe today.
Oh?
Yeah, he's got a funny notion that he didn't run over that man and he ought to plead not guilty. He says there was another car that...
What's the matter, Mrs. Leonard? Don't you feel good? Yes, I feel fine. I'm just a little tired. I think I'll go home and rest.
Yeah, you do that.
Goodbye.
I've been assigned by the court to defend your husband. Now, there's certain information that...
Mr. John, all I want to know is, was there another car besides that big one there that night? A car belonging to a Mr. Leonard?
The only other car beside your husband's was one that directly preceded his. It was registered to a Mr. Philip Whiting, president of the Whiting Trust. Driver did not witness the accident.
Then you're sure there wasn't no other car belonging to Mr. or Mrs. Leonard?
I can only go on the documented evidence I possess, Mrs. Durbin.
Well, thanks, Mr. Jowett.
It's all right.
Oh, what was that name, the man that owns the other car?
Philip Whiting.
I want to talk to Mr. Whiting. Where'll I find him?
Well, I wouldn't do anything as foolish as that, Mrs. Durbin. He's a very busy man and a very...
I know, but would you give me his address, Mr. Jowett, please?
Well, I don't know that it'll do you any good, but here it is.
I want to see Mr. Whiting.
You have an appointment to see Mr. Whiting?
No, but I just want to see him for a minute.
Mr. Whiting does not receive visitors at home without previous
Please,
appointment.
mister,
I suggest
I
you
have
call his
small
office and
kids.
speak to his secretary.
I have small kids at home, and I can't stay away long, please. Just... Sister?
Mrs. Whiting, this lady wishes to speak to Mr. Whiting.
Yes. It's all right, Henry. Thank you. Come in, Miss Durbin. I guess you're wondering why I introduced myself to you as Mrs. Leonard. Well, you see, Leonard is my maiden name, and sometimes I use that in my charity work when I don't want people to know that... Sit down, Mrs. Durbin. How did you find out where I live? And why? Why?
Your husband killed that man.
I really don't know what you're talking about, Mrs. Durbin.
Oh, yes, you do, Mrs. Whiting. You know that your husband killed that man.
No.
You said you were trying to help me, but you were paying me. You were paying me so that the father of my children spends years in jail while your husband stays on the outside.
No, believe me, I wasn't trying to do that. I was trying to help
Look,
you, Mrs.
Mrs.
Durbin.
Whiting,
You see that...
Mrs. Whiting, my husband's in jail for what your husband did.
Please don't say that. Besides, you haven't any proof. You haven't any proof at all.
No proof. It's written all over you. But you're going to admit it, Mrs. Whiting, aren't you? You're going to tell them the truth. You're going to tell them.
I can't. There's nothing I can do about it, Mrs. Durbin. There's nothing I can do about it.
Nothing. Maybe he don't look like much to you with all you've got, but he's all we've got. And I'll tell you something else. He's kind and he's honest. And he's good to those kids.
Please don't.
Mrs. Whiting, those kids need him. They've got to have him. You know that.
Please, stop it, please.
Mrs. Whiting, why don't you do what's right?
I don't know what's right anymore. I don't know what's right.
Oh, you do. The truth. Just tell them the
Mrs.
truth.
Durbin. My wife's in no condition to continue this discussion. She's only trying to shield me. Your husband will be released, Mrs. Durbin. I can prove his innocence.
You will.
Henry, see to it that Mrs. Durbin gets home safely, will you?
Thanks. God bless you.
Never thought you could stand the strain. Why prolong the agony? Well, this should considerably simplify your plans for divorce.
I have no plans for divorce now. You're not doing this just for me. Not just because you're worried about me. You do want the truth. You do want what's right, don't you?
I don't know. I really don't know. Must be something wrong with my concept of social responsibility. That woman in her desperate struggle to save and hold her family together. Oh, I find myself envious of that fellow Joe Durbin. It's funny, isn't it?
No, it isn't funny. It isn't funny at all.
Somehow I don't feel like a man going to jail. Hello, this is Philip Whiting. May I speak to the DA?
There are many wise words that have been credited to George Washington. I think these are some of his wisest. They're from his school copybook. Labor to keep alive in your breast that small spark of celestial fire, conscience. Well, good night. See you next week.
Visit Loretta Young again next week, same time, same station.